Hi there. In today's video, I'm going to finalize my ChatGPT UI clone project. So we have come pretty far already with this. So this is, in fact, if you didn't notice, the clone project. And here is actual ChatGPT. And if you didn't see the previous videos, then I will link them in the description if you want to watch how I created this. But there are a few things missing from this clone. So the main thing that is missing is this actual conversation view. So we should have the user message here and then the ChatGPT message in a list. So let's do this in today's video. And hopefully in the next video, we can integrate this into my ChatWTF project so that we can actually chat with the ChatGPT API using our clone. So in ChatGPT, when you have a new chat, you get this view here. Now, in fact, they have added these suggestions here. They were not included before when I created this code. So I'm probably not going to make this, at least not right now. And then when I open a message, conversation, then that view disappears completely. And we get this default and GPT 3.5 up here instead of the selector. And then, of course, instead of the ChatGPT logo, we get the messages. Now, I think that I will create a completely different div for the conversations and for the front page or the new chat page. So right now it is in our main element and we have the model selector here and then we have the logo. So basically I could move these into a div with a class new chat view and I could move all of these in there. So then we can toggle between them. Now in reality, I'm not sure if we will have two different divs here. Maybe we have just one div and then we populate that with HTMX or something, or jQuery, or just vanilla JavaScript. But for now, so that I can switch between these, I will create a new chat view and then under this I will create another div which will be called conversation view. And let's add some kind of toggle for this. So for now, just if we click on any of these buttons, it should toggle between them. Let's do that. Or new chat will toggle this view and clicking on the conversation will toggle the other view. So let's do that. So let's make a function first. New chat view. And let's go ahead and show new chat view. And what should this do? It should just toggle the visibility of the new chat view. Now, in fact, we might add like a class here, view, so that then if we have multiple views, perhaps later we will have more than these views, then we can just hide all of the views and then show the view that we want to show. So I can just say document query selector view. In fact, I have to say all view, and I guess I have to loop through all of them. So I need to do for each. And what does this take? Callback function with the value and the key. So I can do something like this. And in fact, I have to take the element, or let's call it view. And I'm going to say view dot style dot display equals none. I guess I can do that. So this should hide all of the views. And then I'm going to show the new chat view. So document query selector new chat view dot style dot display is block. Or in fact, what is it? Maybe it's flex. It's not flex. It can be just block. Although I cannot do this because it will in fact ruin my flexbox layout, because the message form and the logo and the model selector are part of the main, which has a flexbox layout. So let's see what happens when I do this. What do I have to do? So I will actually change it to flex. And then I can have another function that would show the conversations view, which would be this conversation view. So I can say show conversation view. And what this will do is it will do the same thing, but it will show the conversation view. Now, this seems like a lot of duplication. I might just do show view with the view here. And then I will just pass in the view or view selector. So then I don't have to do two functions. I have just one show view and I pass in the selector of the view, and that will be displayed. And then I can attach an event listener to all of these messages, these conversation titles. So I'll say conversations li button. So I'll in fact add a class to this button. So let's do that and Control D all the way down. And let's say class is conversation button. So now we have a class for each of these buttons, so we can connect an event listener to them. And I have already a new chat class in the new chat button, so I can do document. In fact, I might have it here. I don't. I will do this. I will add here new chat button, so then I can just reference this variable or constant. So I can say new chat button dot add event listener, and we will add click. And what will we do when we click it? We are going to show view, which will be new chat view. And then we have to do this. It should be click. When we click on any of these conversation buttons, then we should toggle the conversation view. So let me add here conversation view, and this is now a bit more complicated. I'm used to doing this with jQuery, which is very simple, but now we can't really do this. If we say document.query selector all, and we select all of these, and then we do for each again, and we are going to take the button and we are going to say button.add event listener, click, and we are going to, I'm not sure why I use regular functions here and arrow functions here, but whatever. We are then going to show this view. Now this will work, but if we load new content with Ajax, then this will not work anymore because we attached it to all the buttons that were in the DOM at the moment. But if we change the DOM, then the new elements won't have this event listener. But let's now see if this will actually work. So if we go here and we refresh, then this looks terrible because we don't have that flex box anymore. But let's say if I click here, then it disappears. And if I click here, it appears. Now it does look different now because I set it to flex, but by default it is not flex. So I have to figure this one out. How do I do this? Now I could just add the whole main into a different element, but then I have to duplicate this message box, which I don't really want to do. So let's see how we can fix this with CSS. So if we go here and we are going to say, where's our main? Let's do main.view. So the view element in main will have a display flex. And let's see what that does. It will make it look like this, which is very weird. Where's our logo? We probably need like a width 100%. Let's see what is the width of this, if I can fit these. Okay, if I change this to width 100%, nothing happens. So that's not it. I need to change the flex settings. So in main, if I can scroll to main, we have all these things: flex direction column, display flex, justify content space between. Okay, so where is our logo? Our logo is here. Why is it not visible? The text is up there for some reason. Because we changed the margin. So in fact, we have to say that the flex direction of this is column as well, because we want it to be under each other. So if we now go back here, okay, a little bit better, but still terrible. So I'm going to change the styling of the logo, and I will remove the margin, the negative margin from it. So then it will look like this. Now I really want it to be in the center, although in ChatGPT it is actually up there, so maybe I can leave it there now, since this is how it looks in ChatGPT. But previously I decided that it looks better when it's in the middle. But I won't waste any more time with this, and I will move on. So next we have to then create this conversation view. So first of all, this should be hidden by default. So let's do that. Let's say that conversation view is display none. And that shouldn't change anything, right? But then if we click here, that disappears. If we click back here, then it comes back. Great. 20 minutes of doing that. So what does this look like? We have this bar up here. Then we have a scrolling area. In fact, and what is happening here? That is interesting. So when we scroll up, this bar stays there, but when we scroll down, it disappears. So that will be very fun to implement, but let's just put it there for now. So I am going to call it model name, and it will say default GPT 3.5. So default GPT 3.5. Now, of course, we have to change this. So I am going to do that later. So I am going to say I class FA to make the font awesome icon, and this will be FA bold. And now if we refresh this and we click here, actually it's already visible here for some reason. Conversation view should be display none, but because we have the view class somewhere, it will set it to flex. So I will say view conversation view, then it will disappear. So now if we go here, it looks like that, but we want it to be a bar. So let's again take some screenshots and let's put it into Photopea. And Photopea seems to have remembered my previous file, which I never saved. And in fact, I have changed my computer too. So that is great. So this actually doesn't have any background, or the background is the same as the background of the whole thing, I believe. So let us do this. Model name background will be that, and text align will be center, and color will be what? Color will be this kind of grayish. So let's copy that one, and let's add like a padding 30 pixels, and there's a border bottom 1 pixel solid something. Maybe it's this one. It is not that one, that's the background. Let's take a look what this border is. This border is that color. So let's put it here. And let's see. If I go here, that looks pretty good. It is a little bit too big, and that is pretty much the only problem. Maybe it's 25 pixels. And let's do font size 0.9 EM. And I'm not supposed to refresh that page, but this page. Okay, it is still perhaps a little bit big. So let's do 0.8 EM. And that looks pretty nice. Although, what is the difference here? Ours is a little bit smaller, so let's do 85 and call it a day. That is pretty good. Close enough. Then we need to have this area for the chats. So let's add a div here, and let's call this user message. Or in fact, I will call it user message like this. So it will have the user class and the message class. And what will we have here? We will have like an icon here, and then the message. So let's add div class icon, or let's call it identity, and let's just add the same kind of thing as we had here in the user menu. So we have the user icon here, so let's copy exactly that and put it here. And then let's add a div with a class of content, and let's add some text here. Hello, how are you? And maybe there should be like a P element here, because I think that will be added automatically when we start to do some markdown conversion. So let's do that. And let's add a an assistant message. So I'll call this assistant so that it will match with the key from the API from OpenAI. And this should have the icon for ChatGPT. Now I'm not going to copy ChatGPT's icon. I will create my own icon. So let's do a new icon, and let's make it like 30 by 30. And what are we going to have here? We are going to, first of all, add like a rectangle here with corner radius of 5 pixels. And let's make this a different color. Let's call this orange. That is a great color. And I'll make it a little bit smaller so that we have the anti-aliasing included in photo, maybe. And I'll put some icon in there. So custom shape, do we have like a poop emoji here? We do not have poop emoji, so I will use something else. I will just use this person icon. That is going to be fine. And I will set color to this, which will be white. And it again is impossible to center this thing because I picked the exact size that is unable to be centered. So that is our icon. I will remove the background from this, and I in fact might just do the border radius in CSS. So I'll just do that, and I will save this as a PNG. Now, I guess for a simple thing like this, I could have used font awesome icons and just made it with some icon, but whatever. Let's call this chat WTF. And I am going to add it into my project in the images folder. And I will add it here. So let's do img src images / chatwt, and let's add a class to icon. Let's call it an icon. And let's add something here. I'm doing well, thank you. And of course, if we take a look at this, it will look like crap. So we have to modify this to look better. And my icon is way too small. Or did I add some sort of... Okay, I added an icon class already with some styles. So I will call this... I will in fact call it nothing right now. It is going to be assistant message identity image. So we don't have to have a class for that. So now we have to style this thing. So we have to have two things side by side, and the color should be again the same, I guess. I think there's a little bit of a difference in the colors. So user message will be this color. So let's do that. User message color will be that. And assistant message color will be something else, which will be this. It's a little bit different. So this one is the user. So that one is the assistant message color. And we have to do something. The message should be display flex. So let's do message display flex. And if I now refresh, then they are side by side. And the font size should be a lot smaller. Or in fact, no. That's fine, but we have to add some margin. So let's add a gap of 20 pixels. So here should be a gap now. Yes, and it's pretty similar to what they have in ChatGPT, maybe a bit more, 25. And also we should have margin around it. So in fact, we will use padding 25 pixels. And let's refresh, and that might be a little bit too much, but let's first add a different color. So the assistant message is a different color. So let's check what the color is. It is this one. So I will add to the assistant message a background of that color, and I will add the border, which is probably the same as that model name block. So this is going to be just in the message. Border bottom is 1 pixel, solid, this color. And if I refresh, then it is starting to look better. But this should, of course, go all the way to the sides. So I will add padding 25, 0, 25, 0. And let's refresh. And for some reason, that didn't do exactly what I wanted. And that is because our main has some margin or padding already. So let's take a look at our main. But this actually can be 25 pixels. And main has some padding on the sides, exactly. So I think the padding with this is so that the message box is going to be in the right place. So I will remove these from here and only add the bottom padding. And then I will do in the message form a margin of 0.45 pixels, 0.45 pixels. And let's see what this does. Okay, now it's starting to look a lot better. So if we compare it, it is a little bit different. But now these should be in fact indented a lot. So I will add padding of 25 to the top and like 55 or 60, maybe 60 pixels on the left and 25 on the bottom and 60 pixels on the right. Sorry, the other way, left and right. So refresh and open this, and that starts to look pretty good. Now the text is not really aligned with the icon, and in fact here it's not quite aligned either, but we have a bigger difference here, which I think comes from the P tag. So there will be margin on the top of the P tag. So what I will do is I will just add here, P will have the margin of 0, 0, 15 pixels 0, or maybe some EM like 1.5 EM. And if I refresh, then now it's up there and it looks pretty good. Now I guess if we are really cloning ChatGPT, we should make it down a bit. So I am going to add to the message content padding top 5 pixels. So now it should move down a bit. And now it's looking pretty good. Now the icons are not the same size. So what I will actually do is I will create the chat WTF icon with this user icon as well. So I'm going to do this and I will call this G, and I will add here like GPT user icon. And I will change my user icon to have, first of all, font style normal. So it should get rid of that italic, hopefully. Yes. So now it's not italic. But now these are not really square, which I don't like. And I'm not quite sure how I can fix that. I guess I can do like width 30 pixels, height 30 pixels, but then I have to change the padding a little bit. So let's try to find the right width and height for this. So let me change this. So that looks good. 14 pixels or 15. And if I set this to 15 as well, then it will be square. But then the text will be not in the right place. And actually I want it to be a little bit bigger. So I will set it to 18. And I will set this to 18, of course. So that looks pretty good. But now the U is lower than the G. Perhaps I will convert them all into uppercase. So I can in fact do it here. Text transform uppercase. So now if I go back here, then it still looks terrible, at least down here. And if I open this, here it looks good. So it is going to be different down here for some reason, probably because the font size is different. So can I in fact set the font size? If I say that the font size is 15 pixels, it didn't do anything. 14. Wait a minute, so it is setting, it's the same size, but why does it look different down here? That is very interesting. So I won't set the font size, but I have to move it here a little bit. Why is that? I will take a screenshot and actually see what is the difference between these two. So here they are side by side, if I can get them to the right place. What is the difference? This is clearly smaller U. Why is it smaller? So what is the difference? They are exactly the same size, but the U is smaller. Why is that smaller? Did I set a font size for this? No. If I set font size 15 pixels, it became bigger, but they are still not the same. Or am I blind? Let me copy this as a screenshot and put it here. And then I will copy this one from here. And I am going to compare these. What is the difference? Maybe there's no difference. There's definitely a difference. The U is different. It's a different font. Don't tell me it's a different font. So what does this U look like? Is that a different font? What if I change the font? Font family Ubuntu. Ah, now they look exactly the same. So what is the font here? Font. Okay, and what is the font here? Maybe this is inside of a button or something. Font. So what I will do is I will add this font. Can I use like some CSS variable to this? I'm not sure which font it is using. So if I do this, and I refresh. Now they still don't look the same because I forgot to set the font size to 15 pixels and I removed the text transform for some reason, and now they are looking pretty fine. That is enough. And of course the ChatGPT message icon should have a different color. So I'll put GPT user icon will have a background of something. Let's add that orange back and refresh, and now we have a different color for the assistant. So now I think this should have less of a gap, so let's change the gap. Let's do just 20 pixels, and that is looking pretty good. Now ChatGPT is indented even more, but I don't really like it. Why do you have to waste all this space? I want more space for my messages. So I'll keep it like this. And maybe the font size should be a bit smaller. So I will say font size 0.9 em, and it's a bit too small, 9.5. I think it is because the fonts are different. But now it looks better, in my opinion. Now, one difference I see is that there's a little bit less margin in ChatGPT than we have here, but at the top it looks kind of similar. Like we have more margin down here. So let's do this. Padding is 25, 60, 25. So I'll put just 20 down there. And I will in fact put just 15 down there. And now it looks good. Very similar. Perhaps our default bar up there, our model name bar, should have less margin or padding. So I'll put just 25 or 20 pixels. And that looks pretty good. Now ours is a bit smaller, so I'll put 23. And that is good enough for me. We are moving a little bit here because we have less margin there, but I think this is better. So now we are almost done actually. So we have to have this scrolling. So let's do that. So I am going to go here and I am going to copy our messages multiple times so that we will have a scroll bar. And now it will look like this. So we will scroll the whole thing and even our sidebar disappears. So what we have to do is we have to add to the conversation view a scroll bar. Now, in fact, we might be able to just add it to the main, and it might be what I will do, but then our message box has to be display or position fixed so that it will stay at the bottom. So let's try to do that. Let's add to the main overflow y auto. And if we refresh and we go here, then now we still have the sidebar here and we can scroll down. But of course the send message box is down here. So we have to move it so it will be always visible. So let's do that. Message form. We will set it to position fixed. And in fact, I have position relative here in message wrapper. I don't remember what this is. Message wrapper. It is this. So in fact, message form should be position fixed. And we will say bottom 0 and right 0. Now, the width of this might now change. Yes. But what if I don't set the right? Is it then going to still change? It is. It's not in the right place. So I will set it to right 0, but it should be wider. So what if I set the width to 100%? It's probably not going to be 100% of the window. Is that right? Yes. So it's way too big. And I will set the box sizing to border box, which didn't do actually anything. So maybe I will not do that. So how do we make it be in the same position as before? So now it's over there. What determines its width? Message has a width of 100%. Sorry, this is not what I want. This one. Yes, that is 100% and that is 100%, but message form is here. So why does it have that width? What determines it? Flex 1, 2, 3. That doesn't do anything. Now I can change the width to whatever I want, like 500 pixels, 7, 8, something like this. But it will not work because it won't scale then when we hide the sidebar. It will stay the same. So how do I fix this? So in fact, it cannot be right 0 because it has to be in the middle. So what does it do now? Now it moves this way. So if I want it to be in the middle, then what if I say left 50% and then I say transform translate x minus 50%. So now it's in fact perfectly in the middle of the whole screen, but I want it to be in the middle of main. So how do I do that? Does main have to be position relative? Probably position relative. Well, that doesn't do anything. That is interesting. So I will move to plan B since I cannot make this work. I am going to Control Z these things, and I will not set main to overflow Y auto. I will set the conversation view to overflow Y auto. But there will be a problem with this, which is that if I open this, we can in fact scroll, but the scroll bar stops here, which I guess it's not a problem. But if you look at ChatGPT and you scroll down, the scroll bar goes all the way down. So how do we make it do that? We could make it, I guess we can make this position fixed. What if we do, we will have the same problem. But if I say height 100%, then what will that do? Nothing, because it's 100% of what it can be. What if I say 100% viewport height? It still doesn't do anything. So that is an interesting problem. I might just leave it like this. What does this look like? So it fades out, which actually I could say is a bug of ChatGPT, because if I'm here and I try to select something from down here, I cannot select it because the shadow is in the way. So that's a bug. And what often happens is when I try to highlight something down here, if I go a bit too far, it will actually select all of it until the bottom because I'm going to a different element. But here we shouldn't have that problem. First of all, we don't have the shadow there, so we can just select down here whatever we want. Even if I put it here and then I select like this, then it will not select anything else. I mean, I guess I should scroll up here, and if I select this, it will start scrolling down instead of selecting something in a different place. So I will call this an improvement and I will move on. So I want to have some sort of margin between this message area and the chat messages, because now they are too close together when we are on the assistant message. I don't really like that. So how does that look like in ChatGPT? In ChatGPT, it will fade out. That's pretty nice though. So let me first add some margin there. So I am going to say that, in fact, I will add it to the message form. I will add a margin top of 20 pixels. So now it will look like this, which I still don't actually like. I don't like that there's a straight line here. So let's try to create that fade between these two elements. Now I wonder if I can just add a box shadow to the message form. So if I would add here box shadow, and I will add RGBA 000, 0.3 and 0, 0 and 40 pixels. Then wait a minute, where is it? Because we had a margin. We have to change our margin to padding. Then now it's actually kind of doing it. So we have kind of a fade there, but we have to make it the same color as the background. So this is padding, and then we will add box shadow, and the background should be the background of the whole thing. So this one. And then we will set it to 0 and 0, which is the position, how far from the element the shadow will be, and then we will add like 60 pixels of the blur radius of the shadow. And if we then refresh and we go here, then it is in fact looking pretty good, but not as good as I want. Maybe I need to use some gradient here, but I don't want to use the gradient because that will then ruin that selection. So I believe now, even though we are down here, I can still select this and it will not do anything weird. So how do I make it more pronounced? I think you can add more box shadow. You can like add a comma, something like this. In fact, you can do that. So now it looks like this, which is pretty good. Now, at least on my screen, I see some weird stuff here. I'm not sure if that is a bug of, well, whose bug that is. But in fact, we are now looking pretty good. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Let's remove one of these. And still looks pretty good. So I will leave it like this. I think it looks pretty good. Let me see if I just use 2, what it looks like. In fact, 2 is already pretty good. You can kind of see still the outline of the element. So what if I add a third one? Like this, and I refresh. Okay, that looks pretty nice. So if we compare with ChatGPT, it is different, but wait a minute, it's actually you can see the difference in ChatGPT. So perhaps I didn't have to do that, but I think it looks pretty nice. Or does it? I might in fact now remove this padding top because we already have the shadow there. So now it looks like this, and that looks very good. I like that. Maybe I'll make it just 50 pixels. Okay, I am pretty happy with that, so I will leave it at that. And now we can scroll this down and it will scroll until there. And that looks nice. So now we have a view of the conversations and we have a view of the new chat. So now what we have to do is we have to integrate an actual backend to this so that we can send messages to it. But that will be in the next video. So make sure to subscribe. But before I end this video, I am going to add these icons here and the 3 dots icon down here. And then it should look pretty good. So let's do that. We have E and X here, which should be an edit button and a delete button. So let's go up here and let's find all these E's and let's replace them with an I class FA, edit maybe. And let's change the X's to be I class FA, trash. Perhaps, let's see if those exist. They in fact exist, but they don't look very nice. They should be smaller and closer together, I think. Yeah, they should look like that. So let me change that. Let's do edit buttons, and I will do edit buttons button padding 5 pixels, and I will change the hover because I don't want the hover in there. So edit buttons button hover background none. So now it looks like that and we don't have a hover, but it did not change any of the padding. And sorry, did that do anything? It did not do anything. So let's see what is the problem here. We have margin instead. So in fact, I have this rule already somewhere. Edit buttons button, and I will actually don't add this. I will just say that the left and right are just 2 pixels. And if I refresh, then now they are closer together. They should look like that. Actually, they have a hover. The color changes on hover, but not the background. And I'm not actually sure how this changes. Okay, so the fade changes when it's shown, because actually in mine I have this hover effect. So when I hover, then I see these buttons. But in ChatGPT, only the one that is active shows the button. But it will in fact change the fading of the title when I show these edit buttons. So what I have to do is I have to first of all set the margin to 0. I don't have any margin there. Just like this. That is fine. Maybe 1 pixel. Okay, that was pretty good. But then I have to change the fade. So how we did the fade is that we have an element here that appears when we hover over these, and it is going to, well, in fact, not when we hover over them. It will always be there, but the color will change when we hover. So that will create this effect of fading out. So it is in fact this conversations li hover fade. So what we have to do now is, first of all, I made a mistake here, or I did something that I don't have to do because I added this 100% here. I don't believe I have to add this, because if I add the 50%, then it will be assumed that there will be also this color at 100%. I believe that doesn't do anything. Yeah, it works just the same. So now I have to make a longer version of this. But in the li hover, I will make this element longer. So here it's 40 pixels, but I will make this 100 pixels or 90 pixels or something. And then I will change this to be like 70% or something, or 80%. I'm not sure what number I should use. But now the fade actually gets bigger when I hover. But I have to set this to 80% or 90%. And it's still not quite what I want. So let me add a background of some other color so I can see where it is actually at. So if I do that, then, whoa, wait a minute, it's not doing anything. I didn't save it. So wait a minute, I made some mistake here. Let's try to do this. Select that color and select this color and refresh. And now I can actually see what is going on. So I believe I just have to move this to, really, to 95%? 99%? That doesn't seem right. It's not working right now. Sorry. I need to make it smaller, not bigger. At 20%, because it starts from the left. Okay, so let's put here 80 pixels and let's do 30%. So now it will look like that, and that is pretty good. So then I will change the colors back to this one and that one. So now it looks like, it's not quite correct. It should be this color. So that one and that one. Or is this a third? I think this is a third color. No, yeah, it's a third color. So let's just go back here to the original color and let's set this to 30% and what was 80 pixels. Okay, that looks good. Now it's fading out and we can actually see these buttons. And ChatGPT looks similar if we open this. Yes, that is good. Great. In fact, ChatGPT shows these always when we are on the conversation. But I think it is better if it's like this, because we can see the whole title now. So it's better. And then we have to change the color first of all, or maybe the opacity. So I will say that edit buttons button will be opacity 0.5 and edit buttons button hover. I added this hover somewhere already, so I will find it. It is here and I will move it down to the same place. And I will set the opacity to 1. So now when I hover, it will focus it. And it should be maybe 0.7. That is pretty good. It looks kind of similar. Yes. And then we should have that 3 dots button here. So let's add that there too, or the icon. So if we go down to uncon, here we have the dots. So I will actually change this to FA dots. Is it dots? It is not dots. So let's do font awesome dots. Let's just look for dots. Dot circle. That is not what I want. I want 3 dots. So I'll search for dots. And can we find dots? I want the free versions. Ellipsis. So FA ellipsis. And hopefully it will be directly in the right place, which it will not be in. So I am going to move it in the right place. So we'll actually add a class. I'll call it dots. And then in my style, I will have user menu and I will say user menu dots. How do I make it to the right? Can I just do float right like in the 90s? Yes, it is right there, and I can say top 15 pixels. In fact, I would just do position relative top 15 pixels. And in fact, it is going to be 13 pixels. Okay, that looks pretty good. it is fine. Maybe the color should be something. Or just let's do opacity 0.7. Great. Does it change opacity? No. Now here's a bug I just noticed. Our plus icon is now on top of these information dialogues here. So let's change some z-index logo. And I'll say z-index is, let's say 2. And I guess we have to, or maybe it's just because I removed the, no, let's the position relative. Is that enough? No, it's definitely not enough. That made it worse because this one has position relative. So I have to say z-index 2, and I need to add to the model selector or model info z-index 1. So now it still doesn't work for some reason. Perhaps, no, it needs to be in the model selector because the model info is inside that one. And it still doesn't work for some reason. Model selector is there and logo is there. Why on earth does it not work? Model selector. Z-index 1. Sorry, that's exactly the opposite. If this is 3, then it works. Fine. So this should be 2 and logo should be 1. So now it works. Great. And I will do one more thing, at least. I am going to change these icons to use font awesome. Because right now I'm using my own icons, but I don't really want to use them because at first I thought I'm not going to use font awesome, but then I finally decided to use font awesome. So now I don't want to mix two different things and I don't need to have images here. So I will just say I class FA plus maybe. And I am going to say here I class FA chevron left maybe. And let's see what happens. I was correct. Those were exactly the names of those. And we should add some sort of margin there. So let's do new chat I. So new chat. In fact, I have icon here, but I believe I don't need image.icon anymore because I don't have icons. And this I will just say I. And I don't have to set any margin because it is in the middle right now. So I will just say, well, in fact, margin left 15 pixels. Sorry, right. So now it looks like that, which is a little bit too much. So I will say 13 pixels. And that's good. And can we still hide this? Yes. And can we still show it? And what if we open a conversation and we hide it? That looks weird. Very weird. Why does it look like that? Because main has a maximum width. And again, that is so that the send a message box is in the right place, I believe. So I will change main to not have max width of this. I will change the message form to have a max width of that. So this still looks the same, but if I close it, this is not in the middle. Should I do just margin 0 auto? Sorry, I can't do 0 auto because I have margin there already. Do I? Wait a minute. Why did it change its size? If I now hide it, it works. If I show this, this works. It's the whole thing. But why is this now weird? So if I remove that, then it works as it should. That's interesting. Why does margin change that? Do I need to say with 100% then here as well? Then it goes over there. But now it's in the middle here. So do I need to say box sizing border box? Yes. Now it looks perfect and it still looks perfect here. And if I open a conversation, I can scroll this and I can hide this and now it still looks good. Now the box shadow thing here is not amazing because now I can actually see like an outline of this, which might be just my GPU or monitor or something, but still it looks terrible. Let me in fact move to my laptop screen and take a look. It still looks terrible. So I need to fix that. It was because of this box shadow, which is multiple times here. If I remove that, now it looks great here. And if I hide it, it still looks great. So I will not add multiple box shadows. I think the browsers don't really support that, because now I can't see any problems in this. It looks amazing. And if I open this, then we do see this line here, but it's fine because it was the same in actual ChatGPT. So I think this is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like this kind of videos. And let me know in the comments what should I do with this project next. Now, I want to integrate this with my ChatWTF project, but I'm not quite sure if I want to integrate it as is, because now this is like a 100% clone of ChatGPT. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, making a complete clone. Because right now, this has not been published on my GitHub. I'm just making it here on the video. So let me know in the comments, what should I do? Should I publish this code, or should I modify this before I actually publish it in my ChatWTF chatbot? Or what should I do? But anyway, I hope you like this video, and I will see you in the next one.